you guys hear me talking to myself out here trying to figure out what I did with 2 heads. It's terrible when you lose heads. You'd think you'd be more responsible than that, right? Not me! Alright, so thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. It's been a while since I did one of these recordings. I've been so busy trying to get everybody ready to go home to their mamas. So this is our little twin A with her painted hair, and I do have other pictures of her on the Facebook page. So she's going to get her pictures taken today, and then she's going to probably ship out tomorrow if I can get all the shots that I want to get today. Alright, so, and of course that's her belly. Okay, so I have the Camden and the Corbin that are all finished. They've both been painted. They have their eyebrows. They just don't have their hair yet. So what I'm trying to do today is just get their hair put on. I had someone, I think it was Kathleen, ask me how I figure out like where the hairline is going to be, and how I figure out how far down on the face it's going to come, or something like that. Can you tell I've had a really busy weekend full of babies? Yeah, me too. Okay, so today I'm going to try to kind of demonstrate that, and really, truly, it is like, it's kind of an internal thing, I guess, because I don't set out the hairline in the front at first. Like, I don't go into it thinking specifically that I'm going to have the hairline begin here and here. In fact, like, that kind of originates a bit on its own. This may be a bit darker than I want for her. So I'm just going to test it on an eyebrow. Okay. Alright, so when I start out the hair, usually what I do is I start with at the crown, and then I start to make the pattern of the hair toward the face. And I'll put on a few hairs, kind of like that, so that I can see where I'm going with it, and so that I can see what the individual hairs are going to look like once I get them in. Let me find out. And then I'm just going to lighten them down, almost fade them all the way out. That just determines kind of the pattern of the hair. And I think my little fairies must have gotten excited when they cleaned up and they took my sponges. If you hear a big crash, it's because I'm organized. And My organization sometimes becomes very dangerous after a while. Okay. Alright. So, and then wherever I feel that this hairline is coming to a natural completion point, this actually determines everything else on the lateral sides of the head. I'm going to go ahead and prepare for the swirl by just doing a little hook. This, of course, is a recorded video. My software doesn't seem to want to do the live broadcast in really good definition. Go ahead, go. Inside. Go, go. Go, go. Good boy. That was a fast trip. He's very excited. He has his Frisbee today, and he's very happy with that. And this, you can see, is almost a watery type of paint. This is just kind of going to add, it's going to add the lines that are going to appear to be hair, but then it's going to be like the hair that's closest to the scalp. So it's going to be kind of light, and it's going to be underneath everything else, so it's almost going to turn into like a shadow. And then when I'm satisfied that I have a template for the top, which I think this is pretty good, then I'm going to do kind of the same thing with the sides. So I'm just going to put in that little angle right there. And then I'm going to put in a little row of kind of semi-straight hairs. And then I'm going to take it up around the ear. So I just have basically just lines right now that are going to be very light, very close to the skin, and as I bake and layer, then this is just going to kind of become the background for the rest of the hair. And for this first layer, I don't do anything any darker than just this. I think it took me 110 years to figure out how to get the hairs to be thin. And so this is the second pass along this hairline back here. So I have a little bit darker paint. And of course I can blend this down rather easily. I am still not real fantastic at this, but I am getting more practice, so I'm hoping that it will become better. It's a lot better than it was when I first started out there, that's for sure. And so that's kind of what it looks like now at this point at that back hairline. Usually the hair is just a tiny bit thicker at the tips, the back of the head. Truly with this, Still kind of like Jesus take the wheel. And I find that the more that I relax and just let the painting happen and the less I strategize over it, the better it tends to come out. I think that's actually pretty true about everything in life. I just got up a little bit ago, so my hands are kind of still asleep. I did quite a bit of painting over the weekend and some assembly. And now I have 3 babies out there that are waiting for their to finish up with the photo shoots. And these are going to be, basically I'm doing the photo shoots for my portfolio. It's getting cooler outside, so I don't have to have the fan on in here on as high of a level. So you can probably hear me a bit better. Sorry, I can't really talk when I'm doing this part because I have to have the coloring face on. Okay, so now I have most of the hairline done from the temple, around the ear, and across the back of the head. and I have a couple of really light layers up here at the crown. Haven't started the sides just yet. That comes a little bit later. Sometimes it's hard for me to get both of the sides of the head to look exactly alike. So my babies are often a little different from one side to the other. I guess I should probably have the camera somehow like above me, but I don't know how to do that with my setup in here. You have to be really careful not to get brown paint on the ears. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just working with hair direction. So I'm trying to figure out how this hair is going to naturally lay to blend in with what I have already put in down here around the ears. I'm sure there's probably a much better way to do this. I just haven't found it or seen it. And you guys know I fly by the seat of my pants most of the time, so. And that's going to be some of the hairline hair that will go in the opposite direction. So this is going to give me some direction as I work. So I'm going to lighten down, kind of press down some of the darker that I've done. So it's, you can see individual hairs, but it's still mostly a shadow. It's like a shadow map that will show me as I'm moving across the head what direction my brush should be going. So I've basically lightened everything that I just did. And I'm going to bake in my hair map. I've seen that a lot of other artists don't bake in their hair map because they want to be able to remove it, but I make mine so light and subtle that I'm just going to be able to blend that in with the hair. It's just going to give me a subtle little cue of which direction my brush should be going. The main thing is just to make sure that this is light enough around that hairline that when it bakes down, it's not so stark in contrast with the skin of the scalp. And I'm happy with this so far. So I'm going to go ahead and do the first hairline bake. And then I'm going to look at the other little twin, and I can never keep these guys apart, Camden and Corbin. I know who they are, but I don't know which one is which. Isn't that terrible? And so I've already tested the hair, so I know it's going to be an okay color. So once again, I'm going to just put in that midpoint. And because the shape of the face differs from one baby to the next, the way the hair is going to lay is going to be different from one baby to another. This particular sculpt, there is no room. The ear basically lays flat against the head, so you can't really get down behind it. So I'm just basically playing around with the hairline. Now, because of the angulation of the ears on this sculpt, I'm trying to figure out where that swirl is going to come out of. So I'm just going to continue to create this pattern all the way around the head, coming up over both ears. And then I'm going to start to determine where this front hairline is going to be. Okay, so I'm ready to press it down because I just want it to be very, very subtle. But they're enough that I can follow it. And you notice I didn't do a lot up here because the angle of the face, I'm going to need to wait a little bit to see how this develops with the layers, and then I'll figure this part out up here. So it's about time for me to take a breakfast break because I did take my medication and I did not eat anything. So I'm going to have to break and eat. And then I will be back to show you guys some more progress later on today.